Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. It's been a very long time and I'm gonna be honest, it's because my juices just have not been flowing. I've had a few ideas I've played, mostly been trying to mess around with RB stuff, but it just never quite felt like there was something that I made that was mine, that was good, that I played at a tournament to great results, which is really the kind of decks I want to bring to you guys. I mean, this channel is called Lord of Locals, right? We're not trying to win regionals. We're not trying to win YCSs, but we are trying to win locals. And if I can't at least top or get a high finish out of locals with a deck of my very own that goes against the grain of what everybody's thinking, where I have specific thoughts, I'm not going to make a video about it. So I apologize for that. But I hope in way of consolation, you're watching this video and realizing that means, based on the title and based on what I just said, we did really well with a deck that's our own, with specific insights and thoughts about it that I can provide that other people haven't thought of. And it's DoomZ. I ordered these cards almost on a whim. I was looking at pre-orders, and I got the new RB cards because I freaking love the RB cards. I got the Radiant Typhoon stuff because it looked really cool, and I love decks that you can play Runic in. And the DoomZs looked interesting. To be honest, excuse me. To be honest, I didn't even realize that they were a Medius archetype. I was just looking at them, I'm like, oh, okay, these look pretty cool. And I looked at them, like, oh, this is really interesting. Oh, these are really cool. And then I realized it was a Medius archetype. I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. I thought that was just Archmage stuff. So I looked into it a little more, and I did some brewing, and I found an engine and a build that works really, really well, and we piloted to a first place finish at Locals yesterday. Facing a little non-meta, we played Hero, but we also played meta. We played Dracotail. So I won't give a full tournament report, honestly, because I don't remember it very well. The games were really long, and it really hurt my brain. I'll talk about the matches that I do remember, mainly the Dracotail one, because the Hero one, we nibbed them, which hurt them. But without further ado, we'll get into the deck, and I'll tell you about it, and I'll also make some thoughts about what we're not playing, because I feel like we break with what people are doing in a very good way. And I'll do a quick rudimentary combo. The cool thing about DoomZ is that it is not some balls to the walls combo deck, which if you have been a long time viewer of the channel, you know I hate dearly. I am a pure mid-range player. I delve into control, obviously, with Dynamorphia a lot. But mid-range is where I'm at, where we want follow-up, we want consistency, and we want non-engine out the wazoo, which is what this deck provides. The mainline combo, I'll show it to you later, but the mainline combo that you want to see most often, not with Medius. Not with Medius. Summons your tag out and your end board in 4 summons. And so it's untargetable. It is hard to ash if you play it right. And so it's a really quite resilient combo that just gives so much follow-up. So I'll quit yapping about it. Without further ado, let's get into the cards, starting with the DoomZs. I'm going to include the Medius stuff in the DoomZs because it's your main engine. Double check the camera here. So we're going to start. We run 3 Amalfi. He's actually not your best starter. I would argue that Ilara, and here we're running 3 Ilara. Ilara is your best starter because you want Raiders in your end board, but Amalfi is just, I mean, it's the way you search all your stuff. You're going to want 3. He's a perfectly fine normal summon as it is. Don't run less than 3 Amalfi you want him. 3 Ilara. Ilara is perfect. Ilara is what you want because you want Raiders as part of your end board. That's very important. 2 Drastia. I don't think you need 3, mainly because we are not running enough equip spells to warrant 3. That's the first big break from a lot of the decks I've seen. We are on 2 equip spells total. And sometimes we side it out. I actually think from the tournament yesterday that you shouldn't side out the second equip spell going second. I think the follow-up is just too important. But 2 Drastia is perfect. Spoiler, we're running 2 Drastrius for these to tag into. You don't want more, you don't want less. Then we're running 2 Medius, not 3. I will explain why in about 20 seconds when we get to the spells, but we are only on 2 Medius, and then we are on to Power Patron. I'll talk a little bit more about Power Patron later. He can be a starter in this instance because of some of the supplemental. But on to the spells. We are on 3 DoomZ Raiders. This card is perfect. This card is what you want to see every time. Honestly, opening this is not a problem because it means you have resiliency and it means you have really good follow-up. And then we're on 3 Etherealize. Now, I have seen a lot of decks built with Medius, with 3 Medius, and then 3 Archmage Vandalism to search the Medius. And this is just wrong. Like, I get the idea. It's sort of your first thought here. I only have 2 more. So we're also on 2 Doomdirg. I'll talk about Etherealize in a second. Real quick, Doomdirg is your best equip spell. It's in engine. It can be popped. It can equip to anything. It gives your Drastia in combination with Raiders an extra interruption because on your opponent's turn you Doomdirg the Raiders and then Raiders pops a card they control. It's 2 Doomdirg. It's nothing more. You don't want to play the Angel's Ring. You don't want to play more full armored stuff. They are just bricks. This is a mid-range deck. We are about consistency and follow-up. You do not need more brick stuff. The only other equip spell I would consider, and I would run it in the side deck and not the main deck, is Snatch Steal, because you can search it with Diactorus, okay? That is the only one I consider. Anyway, back to Etherealize. Everybody's running 3 Medius, 3 Vandalism, and that's just wrong, because these are all normal summons. Medius is also a normal summon. If you normal Medius and he gets impermed, you are out of the game. You have no other follow-up. Especially because, at least with Drastia, if you open one of these and you bait out an imperm on these, you can Drastia the thing away. Okay? That's okay. But if you open Medius and they imperm Medius, that is it if you are going for 3 Medius, 3 Vandalism. What Etherealize does is it turns Medius into an extender, okay? Because it puts Medius in the grave and it lets you special summon him. So if you normal Alara and they imperm Alara, you can use Etherealize, which sends Medius for cost. They can't ash they cannot ash Etherealize. You can special summon the Medius using the imperm Alara if you want, using a Fua if you're going first, for example, to special Medius. If they imperm Medius, you can then go into a rank 4. You can make some other things. You have plays. Making Medius a special summon is integral to upping the power level of this deck. Because if you are glutting yourself on normal summons, you are never going to be able to compete with anybody who runs even 1 hand trap, okay? You may notice I'm not running the trap. I actually have it nearby because I was running it last night and I did not like it. It is too much of a brick. The mistake is powerful, don't get me wrong. But the point of this deck is to open Alara and like 4 non-engine. And if you only have that, you are not searching the DoomZ Trap, you are searching Raiders, and the DoomZ Trap is just gravy, okay? You don't need it. This is a mid-range deck. Consistency and follow-up. If you open extras, it's fine. Just search another Raiders for next turn. You know, your guys are, you are making such a good towers with Doomdirg and Drastrius that it's very rare that they will be able to OTK you. They need specifically non-targeting, unnegatable monster removal. And that's really hard to get when you've got an untargetable, interruptible, super powerful removal guy on the field. Okay? So we don't need the extra trap. We don't need any of the frills. All we need is this and a little bit of supplemental engine that I will get into now. That was not pretty. I apologize for that. Okay, our supplemental engine is the Zoodiacs. We're on 1 wrap here. The second Zoodiac is basically interchangeable. You can run whatever you want. I think technically, in most corner cases for this build, Thoroughblade is the best. The one that the store had last night is Bunny Blast. So Bunny Blast is fine. Bunny Blast might actually be the second best because if you really are afraid of them doing something to your Trident, you can just make Chakanine and then Trident. So you have a material for both Trident's pop and the Zoodiac Bunny Blast protection. Thoroughblade is the best because it can special summon, and if you summon it and you have an extra barrage, you can pitch it to draw a card. But really, the only really important one you have is Rapier, which is funny because it's the only one at 1. Obviously you can't use the effect, but the Foolish Burial actually turns Rapier into a backup normal summon if you don't open any DoomZs. Like if you open Rapier and 4 non-engine, that's actually pretty okay because we're on 1 full armored Xyz. And the idea is you normal Rapier, you send Bunny Blast, you make Chakanine, you Chakanine revive the Bunny Blast. The Bunny Blast cannot be used for season material this turn, but it can be used next turn. So you rank up the now empty Chakanine into Armor Fortress search Full Armored, rank up the Armored Fortress into Dark Knight Lancer, set the Full Armored Xyz. On your opponent's turn, you use the Full Armored Xyz to rank up the Bunny Blast into Trident, and then you have Trident plus the Full Armored Xyz equip, which means the Dark Knight Lancer equip, and so you actually have a pretty okay board off that instance. Ratpier is the only non-negotiable Zoodiac monster. This could be anything. But this is really, really good. The minor synergies are here. While it doesn't bridge you into the DoomZ stuff, it can be pretty useful, because if you have an Alara and you're afraid of the Alara getting impermed, if you don't have anything else, you can normal the Alara. Okay, say you open like 2 Alaras and Barrage, and you're afraid of imperm. You normal Alara, you don't use its effect. You activate Barrage, you pop the Alara with the Barrage, and then you get Alara's effect to set the Raiders in a non-impermeable way. As I believe, there is no way to stop that. Can't think, I guess you could Gamma, but Gamma's at 1 to stop the Alara search in that instance. And so Barrage is good because it allows some minor synergies. It actually turns Power Patron into a combo starter. Where did I put these? So if you have Power Patron and Barrage, you can normal the Power Patron. You actually don't use Barrage to pop the DoomZ. That's what your initial thought would be, but it's not right. You Barrage to pop summon a Zoo, and then DoomZ does not need, Power Patron does not need to target a DoomZ to rank up. It can just target any level 4. You rank this up into Drastrius. You go through the normal Drastrius line, and we don't care that it's not Medius underneath because we're not searching an equipped spell anyway. So Barrage actually means Power Patron DoomZ turns into a starter. And so there's some minor synergies there, and it's just a really good engine. I mean, 3 Barrage going second represents a Trident pop and threatening Zeus without using your normal. It can bait out so much interaction that it really is super good. And then obviously you can Barrage, if you open full DoomZ combo and Barrage just adds Trident to the field. And you can also use, if you have, in the grind game, if you have excess rank 4s, you can go into Chakanine instead, and then go into Borbo and go in. The Zoos just offer so much to a rank 4 strategy. I know, I think MBT did a Zoodiac deck with Ryziel, and that seems fine, but I really think Drastrius is the better top-end monster right now, that I think it's really important to try this out in DoomZ. But I love this. Every time I had a Barrage, I felt a lot better about my position. I used Barrage to break a board, to break a couple boards. It's just good. And then Full Armored Xyz, I'm not super jazzed about. I usually side this out going second. But it is useful. Obviously, like I said, with the Ratpier, it makes normal summoning Ratpier a decent end board. It gives good follow-up. You don't search it super often, but it can be useful. All right, and then we'll talk about the non-engine real quick. You kind of want to lean into monster non-engine because you want to have monsters to shuffle back with Medius. The best one by far to have in your hand with a Medius, if you're going to open hand traps going first, is Fua, because you can, if they Azuna you can, if you're afraid of Azuna, you can Fua. But I actually don't think we activate 1 effect in hand, so I guess it could happen. But you can shuffle back Fua. Otherwise, it's just good. I had a couple people play into Fua, and that's really not the thing you want to be doing against this deck, because if I have extra resources, I'm just gonna cook you. 3 Nib. I am not on Droll. Droll frustrates me too much. Droll is not good. Okay, obviously Droll is good. Droll does great things about several decks. That being said, it just causes so many problems. You draw, it's not good. Basically not very good going second. On the second turn. If you survive, if they break your board and then you draw into a Droll, you're really upset. But if you draw Nib, and this actually happened last night against Dracotail, and you can put up somewhat of a defense, they might have to overextend to try and get over you and kill you on the 4th turn, and then you can Nib. And if you have any sort of starter after that, that puts you in a great position. I think Nibiru is really good this format. It does a lot of good stuff against Yummy. A lot of people would argue with me and say, oh, it's bad against Mitsurugi. No, they use all of their tribute effects at the start of their combo, at the beginning of their combo in Mitsurugi. So you can just let them go through, you use Nib, and they've already used all the tributes effects on Habakiri, on Ame, on Murakumo. Sometimes they summon Futsu. Usually you want to try Nib before they Futsu. But like Nib is just so good against so many decks right now, I cannot imagine not using it. Obviously, the only thing that really causes it trouble is Ripper. And it's hard to get around that. I mean, it's just, if they make a negate for Nibiru, I mean, what are you going to do? But that's true of Droll as well. And they often can make Ripper before they Droll. So I prefer Nibiru in this instance. 3 Ash. Ash is just good. I mean, you can Ash so many things. The best Ash play I had last night was Ashing one of the Draco Tail traps, because they all make you draw a card. I activated Lightning Storm to blow up his 5-set back row. He activates to negate. I Ash that. His back row goes away, and then we broke that board with Typhon, actually. Typhon really stops Mirror Jade, fun fact. It turns off the banish. It bounces it so it doesn't get the wipe. Typhon's really good. Anyway, you can Ash the Draco Tail traps. You can Ash Izuna. You can Ash so many good things. Ash is just good. And then for the non-monsters, we're on 3 Droplet. I really like Droplet, especially going on the second turn or when your opponent's trying to break your board. Because with Drastrius equipping so many things, you just have a lot of random stuff sitting around with Droplet. You can use Spent Tridents with Droplet. Like, so if you go going second, you go Barrage, special summon a thing, they will usually not interrupt you because you haven't normaled and they're afraid. They're like, I'm just gonna stop the Trident. You use the Trident, you attempt to use the Trident, maybe they go like Imperm or something. You can Droplet send the Trident to get another thing after your Trident's already spent. Obviously you're not getting to Zeus, but you weren't getting to Zeus anyway in that instance. The point of it is to threaten and bait out interaction, and then Droplet can punish them on top of baiting out interaction. I really like Droplet this format. I think it's quite useful. The only matchup that I think it's not as good in is Draco Tail, just because they do so much quick syncing or quick fusioning, and it's just not quite as good. So I'll usually side that out for something else like Contact C. But we'll talk about that on the side. And then 1 called by 1 triple tech. You could run Thrust, but so many of our spell traps are continuous that it's not as good. It'll usually... I was running Thrust. I used it once, but it was never really that useful. I think I tried to Thrust and he ashed it, and then that was it. So it's like, I'd rather have talents just straight up than try and go through the extra layer of Thrust, because there just aren't many things to search for. I know the idea is you can use it going second to search a board breaker like Dark Ruler or Lightning Storm, but Lightning Storm and Evenly, if you usually will have a card by that point, and so you can't even use it. So I'd rather just have these. If you want, you could change out the called by for something else. I feel like it's not as useful, but it is pretty useful. Okay. Onto the extra deck. The extra deck is going to be pretty simple. There's only one thing I would change based on playing last night. I'll tell you about it when we get to it. But we are on 2 Diactrys, 2 Drastrius. These are the really important ones. We're only on 2 Diactrys because we are running 2 Power Patrons. So sometimes, this did come up, you can tag into Diactrys twice, especially because if you're using Medius to special summon and then tag into Xyzes, it's different from Archmage, where Archmage he'll get banished, but with DoomZ's he'll become an Xyz material and then he'll go back to the grave, so you can actually resummon him next turn with extra fodder. So you are actually going into, in the grind game, double Diactrys pretty often. Double Drastrius, because it's your best monster. It is easily 1000% your best monster. We have 2 Drastia, we have 2 equip spells, we have 2 Drastrius, easy numbers. This is the one change I would make. I was running 1 Jupiter. This should be a second Zeus. To be perfectly honest, I did make Jupiter once. It did not matter. It was just gravy. He's just too hard to summon. To summon Jupiter, you need... It's funny, swapping out Jupiter for Zeus. That's funny. To summon Jupiter, you need to have used both your Drastrius effects and equipped it, or searched another equip spell. And the problem with that is if you're using the second Drastrius negate, you're getting rid of the Drastrius non-targeting, because your second negate is going to be detaching the Doomdirg. And that makes it really vulnerable and much harder to summon Jupiter on top of. Plus, like, if you summon it back with the Jupiter, you get a pop, but then you just have a materialist Drastrius. It's just not great. It's just not useful. I would rather just play consistency cards rather than try and make this one Chungus that doesn't actually do that much. For the zoos, we're on Dryden, Chaknine, Vorbo. If you wanted, you could make Jupiter a Hammer Kong, because as it is, if you're trying to break a board, you make a Dryden, you use its pop, you rank up into these 3. That's a 3-mat Zeus. I would rather, obviously, you'd rather have a 4-mat Zeus. So if you had a Hammer Kong, then you can just have 4 material on the Zeus. That being said, it only came up once, and we ended up winning that game anyway, just because we have such a good rank 4 toolbox. So it's not that big of a deal. F-Zero and F-Zero. This is just useful. It's actually not just, this F-Zero here, the normal one, Utopic Future, is not just a grab, just rank up into Draco Future. It actually is really good to deal with problem cards. We actually ran into an instance where I was about to die because my opponent summoned a Shining Wingman, the one that can be a board wipe, but in this instance it was important because it was both huge and can't be destroyed by card effects. So we needed, and we had already used Zeus at that point, so we needed an out to it. And eventually I was able to make Utopic Future to steal it, because I then remembered that Doomderg lets Drastrius attack directly, but then that puts Drastrius in attack mode, and that's a problem because his Wingman was huge and he would win that race. So this actually does come up if you make just F-Zero, but obviously Utopic Draco Future is good. And then to go with that, we do have the Gaga Magician. I'm just gonna call it the Nim Nim Magician. This is more often used to make F-Zero. This is most often used to make F-Zero, but sometimes it is useful for bringing back a DoomZ if you need it for like a pop or something. That never happens, but it could come up. It's an option, but this is usually just you make Gaga Magician, you revive a Diractorus, you make F-Zero. I mean, that's what I did when I needed to out the Elemental Hero Wingman. We made Gaga, we revived a Diactorus, and then we just made F-Zero. So he's an F-Zero maker. And then the full armored stuff, 1 Dark Knight Lancer, 1 Fortress. Fortress can just go on any spent rank 4. So it's actually quite useful, because if you have a spent if you revive a Diactorus, but you don't, or they pop something, or you've spent something, or you have a spent Dryden, or especially a spent Chakanine, you can just rank up into Fortress, grab full armored Xyz, make Lancer, go to town. And then our elites, Typhon and Zeus. Typhon is really good. Don't cut Typhon, please. It will solve a lot of your problems. Zeus, we really, like I said, we want a second one. If anybody didn't get the joke before, Jupiter is the Roman name for Zeus, so swapping out Jupiter for Zeus is very funny. So, having 2 Zeus is just really important. You have so many Xyz monsters. You have so many Xyz monsters that can't be destroyed by battle or can attack directly. I actually forgot that that Doomderg makes your DoomZ monster able to attack directly, and so you actually can make Zeus really, really easily off of Drastrius if you think the Zeus is more important than the Drastrius. So running a second Zeus is important. That's the extra deck. Real quick, very generic side deck, 3 contacts C. The only changeable slot, depending on your deck, is Dark Ruler, because we can break boards really, really easily. Dark Ruler is good. 3 Lightning Storm, because it's back to 3. 3 Evenly. 3 D-Barrier. D-Barrier came up against Draco Tail. Contact C came up against Draco Tail. Contact Z came up against Elemental Hero. It was really funny. You had to tribute summon a Ferris to break it, which was really good. Just generic side deck cards like this. You could cut 1 or 2 of these and put in a Thrust for searchability and toolboxing. I just like to run 3 Fs. Okay, real quick, I'll go over the normal combo, the non-Medius combo, because the Medius combo is what everybody sees. The non-Medius combo is really, really simple. You normal summon Elara. Elara effect to set Raiders. Activate Raiders. Pop Elara. Special Amalfi. Amalfi search Drastia. Drastia target Amalfi. Pop the Amalfi. Equip with Doomderg. And that's your end board. 3 summons. That's it. 3 summons. If you think they have nib and you have the Zoodiacs, just don't use the Zoodiacs. Just use it for follow-up. Like, this is just, it's really good. It's surprisingly good how strong this end board is, because if you think about it, you have the DoomZ effect to pop a card you control. What card do we like to pop? Oh, DoomZ Raiders, because that represents a pop of our opponent's turn. We can then tag into Drastrius. Now we have an untargetable, hard to destroy towers that can equip non-targeting a face-up monster opponent control, can negate from field or grave, and most importantly, does not have to equip the monster it negated. We actually ran into a really tricky chain to resolve where my Dracotail opponent normaled Lucius. I attempted to negate the Lucius with Drastrius. They chained Thymina to fuse. They fused into Arthalion. My Chainlink 2 Drastrius resolved, negates the Lucius, but then I can equip any face-up monster. So equip the newly made Arthalion. The Lucius goes off and is negated. Now the Arthalion is not on the field and cannot trigger because it is not in the correct zone to activate when it was summoned. So the removal effect of this is really good. The non-target is really good. This card was so hard for people to deal with because the way that Dracotail would get rid of it is they would just non-targeting destroy it, but it can't be destroyed the first time. So just ending on Drastrius is fine. It's kind of like Detonator, except with better removal and an actual negate. And I love that. And that's the mainline combo. That is the only thing you want to see. You might be saying, but Cody, what if you drew Alara and Raiders? Okay, that's fine. Search a second Raiders. You don't need to be adding in bricks for a little extra ceiling when the point of this deck is not ceiling. The point of this deck is not to be a high ceiling combo deck. It's to be an ultra consistent, very good in the grind game, hard to deal with mid-range deck. And that's what this deck produces. And that's what made this deck come in first. The hero matchup was fine. You know, we nibbed him game 1. We contact seed into Fuwa game 2. And so he passed on basically nothing. We couldn't kill him because he had too many monsters, but like, that's fine. The Dracotail matchup was the best. We actually lost game 1 and then won games 2 and 3. Game 2 because we had a contact. We actually didn't debarrier him until turn 2, but we were just able to control his hand so much with the equipping of Dracotail monsters and the negating of stuff. It was quite good. And then game 3 was this huge slugfest back and forth where he had a big board, but then we lightning stormed an Ash to prevent it, and then we were able to make a Typhon to bounce the Mirror Jade, attack over the Gulamel, and then it was so funny. I made Typhon, I bounced the Gulamel, I bounced the Mirror Jade, I walked over the Gulamel, which had been revived, and so it was banished. And then he had one card in hand. My last card was triple tack. He'd used the Mirror Jade on a different card. I triple tacked to rip the last card out of his hand. And I think the last card in his hand was another Lucius. And so he had no follow-up, and he whiffed it, and he had a draw, I think. He drew a Malulu and had a Cartesia. But he actually ran through all 3 Arthalions, and we were able to equip all the Arthalions, and it just worked out really well. So, you know, the matches are good. This deck can hang with the meta. The point is to be consistent and do your game plan as often as possible, not to create a ceiling, because your game plan is good enough on its own, backed up by non-engine and supplemental engine with the Zoodiacs. I love this deck. I mean, this was the first deck that I really wanted. I have, obviously, 3 decks from the new set. I have RB, Rooted Radiant Typhoon, and this one. I might make profiles on the other ones if they do well. If they don't, you won't hear about them. But this was the first one I wanted to play because it is just so fun, and it is just the awesome mid-range deck that I love. And then the newest set brings us an excellent extra piece where we just get to pop a card from deck. I think at that point, you can almost shave a couple of DoomZ monsters that you don't even need. You could shave Etherealize. Don't shave Etherealize. Etherealize is still too good. But it just produces so many consistent, hard-to-deal with boards, sticky boards, that it works. So I hope you try it out. I hope you like it. Yeah, I love this. And I hope to see you in the next one.